What's going on, YouTube? My name is Corey Tulaba. I'm an NBA draft analyst at NoCeilingsNBA.com, and today we are bringing you our latest edition of the 2024 NBA mock draft. We are about to enter into March Madness. It is tourney time. So, for those who are about to mock, we salute you. Let's get into it. With the first pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons are selecting Zachary Risacher. When a team is sitting at a 10-53 record like the Pistons are, it's expected they'll make a call at the end of the season and decide which players are the future of their franchise, which players are complementary pieces, and which players could be trade assets. This season has proved that Cade Cunningham is definitely that guy in Detroit, and that Jaden Ivey has taken a leap, becoming a more efficient scorer who can play alongside Cade. With their backcourt of the future now set, the Pistons need everything else. And while Detroit will certainly look at Alex Sarr here, they choose to address two of their biggest weaknesses by adding Zachary Risacher, who has been making an impact in the French LNB, converting nearly 45% of his 140-plus three-point attempts during the season. Now, Risacher won't wow you with his self-creation, but his floor spacing makes him a natural fit alongside non-shooters like Jalen Duren and Nassar Thompson in the Pistons' front court. Risacher is also able to make an impact on the other end of the floor, providing versatile defense with his combination of 6'8" size, length, and mobility, which allows him to cover wings in the perimeter, help with rebound, and contest shots around the basket. With the second pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Alex Sarr from the Perth Wildcats. The Wizards played themselves out of the first overall pick with a recent two-game winning streak, but they still come up with the top player on the No Ceilings consensus big board in Alex Sarr. The French center offers a unique blend of size, length, agility, and open court speed, standing at 7'1" with a 7'5" wingspan. Sarr is able to protect the rim both as a primary defender and as a help defender from the weak side. Offensively, Sarr is an adept rim runner who can finish transition and pick and roll plays at the rim, as well as corral in offensive rebounds. What else Sarr will be able to provide on offense is a question that will certainly plague him until draft day, but the Wizards might overlook Sarr's lack of offensive self-creation as they desperately look to improve a defense that ranks at or near the bottom of the league in almost every metric. With the third pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Reed Sheppard from Kentucky. The Spurs found their franchise cornerstone with the selection of alien Victor Wembanyama last draft. Now it's time to find the right pieces to surround their superstar big man. Adding to the backcourt is going to be one of the top priorities for the Spurs heading into the offseason. With the potential to have a pair of picks in the lottery, the Spurs will have the opportunity to add a number of pieces to their backcourt if they choose so. The Wildcats guard has been one of the most impressive players in the entire class. With an incredibly high feel for the game, paired with the ability to shoot the cover off the ball, Sheppard should have plenty of fans in NBA front offices. Sheppard is averaging around 13 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 2.5 steals per game, while shooting 54% from the field and 53% from three in about 29 minutes per game. Now, fans have questioned the upside for Sheppard, while we should be focusing on the realization that he could become a dangerous asset in the backcourt, given his strengths on the court. Now, adding Sheppard's ability to make winning plays alongside Wembanyama and the foundation the Spurs have in place is a step in the right direction. With the fourth pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Cody Williams from Colorado. Outside of point guard, the Charlotte Hornets have holes up and down the roster. They need players who can help the team in a variety of ways without necessarily having to be a superstar. Picking up Cody Williams gives the team an awesome secondary playmaker with serious offensive upside. Cody would have space to grow into a bigger role without having to be the face of the franchise, and his complementary skills make him a clean fit on a team with a clear number one and a clear problems everywhere else. There's certainly work for Williams to do, especially on the defensive end with his poor screen navigation and lack of defensive playmaking. However, his strengths fit in nearly perfectly with a Hornets team that can lean on his incredible scoring efficiency as he continues to expand his offensive game. With the fifth pick, the Portland Trailblazers select Modest Buzelis of the G League Ignite. Now, the Blazers desperately need a wing who can do a little bit of everything. Here, they can still walk that thin line of balancing need and potential. Despite it not being a flawless season, Modest Buzelis still shows flashes of what makes him such an intriguing prospect. His on-ball creation has underwhelmed all season as he struggled with the physicality and athleticism of G League defenders. These struggles will likely carry over into his early career in the NBA, but with the Trailblazers, it shouldn't be much of an issue, since they have already established on-ball guards like Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe. Buzelis can slide into a more low-maintenance off-ball role where he can maximize his spot-up shooting threat, cutting ability, and connective passing. Additionally, Buzelis can continue to build on his defensive growth by learning from and complementing some of the already established forward defenders they have in Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, and Chris Murray. Buzelis would provide the Blazers with two-way versatility as a low-maintenance off-ball player with the potential to develop into a much more prominent role. With the 6th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky. The Grizzlies are hoping that this is the last time that they'll be picking this high in the draft for the foreseeable future, and the focus for the Grizzlies moving forward is just getting healthy. The pieces are in place for the Grizzlies to have a bounce-back season next year, especially with superstar Ja Morant getting back into the mix. With the impressive growth of rookie wing Gigi Jackson this year, Memphis could find itself in a position at a number of different positions at this point of the lottery. The Wildcats freshman guard Rob Dillingham has been one of the most exciting players in college basketball this year. Could the Grizzlies look to add a dangerous offensive threat to their rotation moving forward? With Morant, Bane, and Marcus Smart in the mix, the Grizzlies have plenty of pieces set in stone for the upcoming year, but adding an offensive force like Dillingham could be a dangerous addition that presents versatility in the backcourt given the pieces in place. While Memphis could look to add another upside wing here to pair with Jackson, the potential for Dillingham to give this team another microwave scorer could be too juicy to pass up, especially with the injury concerns in the backcourt where Rob could much easily step into a bigger role given the dynamic scoring ability. With the 7th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Stephen Castle. The San Antonio Spurs really need shooting, which Castle unfortunately can't provide. Luckily, their first pick in Reed Shepherd does. What Castle does offer, though, is high-level competency in every other facet of the game. Currently, Castle ranks in at least the 74th percentile in handoffs, pick-and-roll scoring, pick-and-roll including passes, and transition scoring per synergy. Coming out of high school, Castle was a point guard, so he's very familiar with running the show. What this season's shown us, though, is that Castle is more than capable of playing a complementary role. Additionally, it's proven that Castle is also a fantastic defender. When he's on the court, UConn's defensive rating is 91, which ranks 4th. When he's off the court, it jumps to 98.6, which ranks 47th. With the Spurs, Castle can fill in the gaps around Wembanyama, Devin Vassell, and Reed Shepherd. While Castle will need to figure out his jumper in some form or fashion, the mechanics are far from broken. As he figures that out, though, he can provide defensive versatility, playmaking, high basketball IQ, and a ton of potential to grow into an even more versatile player. With the 8th pick, the Houston Rockets select Dalton Knecht out of Kentucky. Now, there are a few prospects in this class whose stock is rising as rapidly as red-hot Dalton Knecht. Knecht has been giving teams buckets all season, but he's been throwing literal flames at the hoop during SEC play, averaging 25.5 points per game on 48, 42, 73 splits, which includes his 40-piece that he served to Kentucky. Now, Knecht's shooting and overall scoring package will be a welcome addition to a Rockets squad that sits amongst the NBA's bottom-tier shooting and scoring categories. Houston also has the kind of defensive infrastructure on the wing that could mask some of the concerns that Knecht may have on that end of the floor. And while Knecht is older than most typical top 10 picks tend to be, he fits the timeline of a Rockets franchise that is trying to compete in the West while blurring the line between productive veterans and younger prospects. In a lottery with lots of uncertainty, Knecht's explosive offense brings something concrete to the table. With the 9th pick, the Utah Jazz are on the clock, and they select Nikola Topic from KK Crvena Zvezda. The Jazz are running their offense by committee currently, with Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, and Keontae George carrying most of the load. When it comes to creating for others, enter Nikola Topic, who was masterful running the pick and roll and moving the ball in transition in the Adriatic League before going down with a knee injury that has kept him on the sideline since early January. His recovery from said injury, as well as his jump shot and his defense, will be hotly debated topics in the lead-up to the draft. With his potential size, though, along with his tremendous ability to make plays for others and to put pressure on the rim, it's hard to see Utah passing up on the Serbian guard at this point of the draft. With the 10th pick, the OKC Thunder select Donovan Clingan out of UConn. It's hard to find holes on such a young team that's also sitting atop the Western Conference, but the Thunder have had size issues on the roster since last season. Even Chet Holmgren joining the fray after missing last season didn't fully fill that hole down low. There won't be many minutes available either now or going forward, but someone with heft in the paint would be at or near the top of the wish list. Enter Donovan Clingan, the 7'2 center who is a game-changing force at both ends of the floor. His two biggest concerns at this point are his injury history, which muddies things up for his draft stock, and his relatively small minutes load when he has been healthy. He's almost tailor-made for a Thunder squad that can play him as the other big with Holmgren in key stretches or have Clingan lock down the interior and rim run when Holmgren's out of the game. The Thunder are in a perfect spot to benefit from Clingan's strengths while also not needing to be as worried about his potential concerns. With the 11th pick, the Atlanta Hawks selected the G League Ignite forward Ron Holland. Atlanta will be one of the most fascinating teams to keep an eye on for the upcoming NBA offseason. There's going to be plenty of speculation surrounding the future vision when it comes to their backcourt, and at this point of the draft, the Hawks would be wise to spring to the podium to add an upside swing on the perimeter. Now, Ron Holland showcased some tantalizing two-way upside throughout his time with the G League Ignite this year, despite still being a little bit raw. Holland has the motor and two-way potential to be a heck of an addition. Now, Holland still has some of the highest upside of any prospect in the class. He won't turn 19 years old until after the draft, and he has the makings of a versatile forward who can become more of an asset with his defensive upside and ability to be a big-time weapon in transition. The Hawks should find themselves in a position to attack the board and add the best player available, and at this point of the draft, Holland could be an easy decision for the Hawks. With the 12th pick in the draft, the Chicago Bulls select Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina. Now, Colin Murray Boyles has been one of the most productive freshmen in the 2024 class. The 6'7" lefty with a rumored 7'2" wingspan has some Julius Randle in his game, merging physicality and finesse. Murray Boyles is a crafty interior scoring presence with playmaking feel who could face up and attack or seal his man and finish on the block. Defensively, he can really move his feet and switch out to the perimeter while offering just enough rim protection that he could play some minutes at the 5. Murray Boyles' lack of perimeter shooting ability won't fill an immediate need for a Bulls team in the bottom 10 of distance shooting, but taking a swing on a young, talented forward who has been killing the advanced stats models is a worthy swing in the back end of the lotto for a middling team that needs an influx of young talent. With the 13th pick, the Portland Trailblazers are back on the clock, and they select Keyshawn George out of Miami. Now, the Blazers are a few years away from serious playoff contention, so with 2 picks in the lottery, they can afford to bet on a late bloomer like George to take yet another step once he gets to the NBA. The Swiss wing took the leap from playing garbage minutes in the second division of France to start for an ACC program in just 1 season, and he adapted quickly to the NCAA game, making an impact as an off-ball shooter and ball mover for Miami. While George is not an elite self-creator on drives and pull-up jumpers at this point, it's easy to see a team like the Blazers, who have multiple ball-dominant players in their young core, being interested in George's off-ball game, feel for the game, and positional size. With the 14th pick, the New Orleans Pelicans are on the clock, and they select Kyle Filipowski out of Duke. The Pelicans are a good team in a tough spot. They currently sit at the 5th seed in the Western Conference, and there's a lot to like about this roster. Yet, there isn't enough to convince anyone that the team is built for a long run in the playoffs necessarily. With that in mind, it's clear that there probably won't be too many options at the 14th spot who will make a significant impact on their title chances. What they can do, however, is add a potent piece that could become a precious asset and fulfill a need. Most of New Orleans' best 5-man lineups consist of Jonas Valanciunas playing center, but he'll be 32 next season, and having some insurance behind him could be a smart move. Adding a guy like Kyle Filipowski is a great option, and it's vital to focus on what he is and not what you wish he could be. Filipowski's a 7-foot sophomore with good strength, shooting upside, and toughness. He won't wow you necessarily with incredible athleticism, but he's very skilled for his size, and he really competes. Filipowski has shown a good amount of growth in his sophomore season for Duke, and you can see it in the shooting splits where he's at 50, 35, 66. The free throw shooting number needs to be higher, but his shooting passes the eye test. And adding a backup big with good size, shooting touch, and some guard skills is a nice addition to a team looking to move up in the Western Conference. With the 15th pick, the Toronto Raptors are on the clock, and they select Jacoby Walter out of Baylor. This recent stretch of play for Jacoby Walter has been disappointing, but that shouldn't detract from the player he's still capable of growing into. Walter is still one of the most fascinating off-ball scorers in the class. He has a sweet jumper, knocks down movement threes, and is savvy with his off-ball movement. The biggest struggle has been his on-ball creation, as his handle needs some work, but he can be a dynamic off-ball option who can play off of their already established on-ball creators in Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, and RJ Barrett as he improves his handle. Also, Walter's defense has steadily improved throughout the season. He continues to work and communicate off-ball, and the constant blow-by drives have steadily declined. Early on, Walter can be a reliable spot-up scoring outlet that has the potential to return significantly higher volume if he develops like he has the potential to. With the 16th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Ryan Dunn out of Virginia. Now, with Joel Embiid and Paul Reed as the only players under contract for next season, and Tyrese Maxey as a restricted free agent, the 76ers could go in any number of directions here. Since Maxey is all but guaranteed to return as a second superstar alongside Embiid, the offense has a pretty solid foundation. Adding Ryan Dunn to the mix gives the Sixers a lockdown defensive playmaker who doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful. The concerns about his offensive impact overall are valid, but Dunn is a great cutter and transition player already. Also, while the shot is far from a weapon for him, it's also maybe not as broken as the numbers might indicate. The offense is all but guaranteed to at least be solid with Embiid and Maxey in the fold. With Dunn as the roamer and Embiid stationed in the paint, their defense has the chance to develop into one of the better units in the NBA, with even a bit of investment in that side of the ball this offseason. With the 17th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Miami Heat select Jared McCain out of Duke. Now, McCain has been one of the best shooters in the country this season. That skill alone should warrant him being a near lottery pick. However, much of McCain's game has been hidden this season due to the role that he's been asked to play. Since McCain is the best shooter on Duke, he's largely been forced to play exclusively an off-ball role, as Tyrese Proctor, Caleb Foster, and Jeremy Roach take more of the point guard duties. Even though McCain has almost exclusively played as a shooting guard, it doesn't mean that he can't transition to the point. McCain is a fantastic passer and highly capable of running the pick and roll. Despite falling into the small guard classification, McCain is also one of the best at-rim finishers among all guards in this class. He has great strength, can play off 1 or 2 feet, and is very crafty with his finishing angles. Additionally, McCain offers a lot of value as a rebounder and has improved defensively throughout the season. McCain's ability and willingness to play a myriad of roles, along with his upside to grow into more of a point guard, will help him quickly assimilate into Heat culture. With the 18th pick in the draft, the New York Knicks select Johnny Furphy out of Kansas. Now, the scouting report for Furphy is a simple one. He's a freshman wing for the Jayhawks, and he does a ton of things that NBA front offices value. Standing at 6'9", Furphy is a big wing that can really shoot the ball from the outside. As a freshman wing who's primarily asked to play as a finisher and early offense option, Furphy does a beautiful job of playing within himself. Furphy is good on the boards, can push the ball up the floor, and is a real threat in transition. The Knicks being last in pace and 14th in overall offensive rating, adding a guy like Furphy to the bench as a guy who could pump some energy into the second unit would be a really nice move by the savvy Knicks front office. With the 19th pick, the Phoenix Suns are on the clock, selecting Tristan da Silva out of Colorado. Now, the Phoenix Suns have as good a big three as any team in the NBA. They are, however, a top-heavy team in perpetual search of role players that they can rely on night in and night out to contribute to their contending level trio. Enter Tristan da Silva, the Colorado Buffs senior who can do a little bit of everything on the wing at 6'9", 220 pounds. A career 38% three-point shooter, Da Silva gives Phoenix a legit floor spacer. He can move his feet on the perimeter and defend the wing, and his ability to make sharp decisions as a passer will allow the offense to continue to hum when the ball swings his way. Da Silva may not have star appeal, but for a Suns team looking to add good players to the margins of their star core, there may not be a more ready-to-go wing prospect at this part of the draft. With the 20th pick, the Orlando Magic are on the clock, selecting Tyler Smith from the G League Ignite. Although a recent hot streak has propelled the Magic out of the NBA basement in terms of three-point percentage, they remain dead last in three-point makes and second to last in three-point attempts. That recent hot streak, by the way, has brought them all the way up to a lofty 26th in terms of three-point percentage. In other words, this team needs shooters. Tyler Smith has shown in the G League this season that he is very comfortable fitting into a role and bombing away from long range. There are playing time battles up and down the lineup already for the young Magic core, but one clear way to finagle a spot into the rotation is by providing some support from beyond the arc. Tyler Smith is one of the best bets to provide that shooting touch at this point in the draft. With the 21st pick in the draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Tijan Salan from Cholet. The Hawks added a defensive contributor with their previous pick, addressing their biggest weakness. With their second pick in the first round, they looked to the future by taking Tijan Salan, one of the most boom or bust prospects in the 2024 draft. The 6'9" forward is not going through his most efficient stretch of the season, averaging 9.3 points on about 28% shooting from three-point range over his last 10 games, and the lapses in decision-making on both ends of the floor are real. The flashes of brilliance, however, are tremendously enticing. If everything goes right for him, the Hawks could come away with a versatile scorer who can convert tough shots from deep range and get to the rim with his fluid ball-handling ability. It's the type of high-risk, high-reward bet that a team like the Hawks with multiple picks in the first round can afford to make. The Knicks are back on the clock with the 22nd pick, and they select PJ Hall out of Clemson. Now, even with the solid play of Precious Achiuwa since moving to the Knicks, it's important for the Knicks to add more big-bodied guys with skill. PJ Hall has had a very productive season for the Clemson Tigers and has shown real growth in several areas of his game. His rim protection has been better, and he's become a really savvy passer. Although the shooting percentage is down from outside, he's taking more of them, and it looks good from there. He's still a solid free throw shooter, sitting just under 80%. With the injuries to Hartenstein, Randall, and Robinson, it'd be smart to add another big player who can bang inside with the big boys and offer some juice on the offensive side of the ball as well. Hall is a gritty guy who plays with real toughness, and you know Coach Tibbs will love that about him. With the 23rd pick in the draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Isaiah Collier out of USC. While it may be shocking to see Collier fall this far, it's something that happens to talented prospects every year. In recent years, we've seen talented freshmen like Cam Whitmore and Tyrese Maxey slide after inconsistent seasons, and it's easy to envision a world where that scenario plays out for Collier after his rocky start to the year. It's always been abundantly clear that Collier is an NBA-level athlete with intriguing finishing and playmaking tools, but early into the season, he had yet to figure out how to use those tools as he adjusted to the speed of the college game. Collier then went out with an injury, leading to questions about if he would even return to the season. Collier ultimately did return, and it appeared as if something had clicked as he started making much better decisions with the ball in his hands, and gave us a glimpse of just how impactful he could be as a downhill rim threat and multi-level scorer. While New Orleans is as deep a team as you'll find, they lack a long-term solution at the point guard spot. Collier is a low-risk, high-reward swing at this part of the draft, as there are still outcomes where he regains his form as a blue-chip prospect, taking advantage of the pace and space of the NBA game. With the 24th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks are on the clock, and they take Yves Missi out of Baylor. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks have started to look like a completely different team after the All-Star break, but this team is going to need to start finding some important developmental pieces to groom for the future. The Bucks will have some interesting decisions this offseason when it comes to shaping their roster. They could look, with this pick, to add some versatility on the perimeter, while the idea of adding another rotation piece to their backcourt could be intriguing given this range of the draft. While Baylor Bears freshman big man Yves Missi would be too enticing to pass up here, the Bucks could look to make things simple for the raw but extremely talented big man. Missi could slide in as a rotation big off the bench who can stand out with his defensive upside and ability to be a dangerous threat in the pick-and-roll game. A sensational athlete with a Hulk-like frame, Missi would be a talent that the Bucks would be lucky to add to their rotation, given he's still on the board at this point of the draft. With the 25th pick in the NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Kwame Evans Jr. Now, the Cavs have monsters up front in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Even with those guys holding things down inside, adding a fun developmental piece who could play next to either of them off the bench is something they should explore. Kwame Evans is an exciting player. Evans is 6'9", utility big that can theoretically offer a ton of versatility on both ends of the floor. He's extremely long, has good size, and is pretty mobile. He does a good job of packaging all of that on the defensive side of the ball with some intriguing and entertaining flashes. Strength is an issue right now, so if he could bulk up a bit, that would go a long way. Cleveland is currently third in the league in defensive rating, but adding a young piece they can invest in and develop as a solid backup four is worth taking a shot on in this range. Evans is also an interesting study on the offensive side of the ball. He's not the best shooter, but it's something that he's working on, and to his credit, he's shooting 81% from the charity stripe. The sub 30% from 3 isn't ideal, but it's been a huge emphasis of his development. With the 26th pick, the Washington Wizards are on the clock, selecting Tyler Kolek out of Marquette. Now, the Wizards added a major piece to their core by selecting Alex Sarr with their lottery pick earlier in the draft. They seemingly hit a home run in 2023 by taking fellow Frenchman Bilal Coulibaly. Denny Avdia and Corey Kispert are real NBA players who have gotten better every year. There are real ingredients to building a successful roster in the nation capital. What the Wiz now need is a straw that stirs the drink. Enter Marquette's Tyler Kolek. The 6'3" lefty guard is one of the draft's premier playmakers and shooters who brings a sky-high basketball IQ, contagious toughness, and winning mentality. With Tyus Jones' unrestricted free agency in sight, Kolek will have the opportunity to come in and lock down the starting point guard spot, while growing with a young, rebuilding Wizards core. With the 27th pick, the Timberwolves are on the clock, selecting Jalen Tyson out of Cal. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves will need someone who is ready to contribute early, and Jalen Tyson fits the bill. One of the biggest concerns with Tyson this season has been his decision-making. With the Timberwolves, though, his responsibilities will be significantly less than what he's asked of him from a less-than-ideal California team. What Tyson has proven this year is that he has positional size, the ability to create offense, and most importantly, shoot that shit. Tyson's averages aren't perfect, but a lot of that comes down to the volume and difficulty of his attempts. In a lesser role, where others are doing the bulk of the creation, Tyson has the potential to be more of a play finisher and secondary creator with the second unit. With the 28th pick, the Denver Nuggets are on the clock, selecting Dylan Jones from Weber State. Now, the reigning champs have a potent roster filled with star veterans and an up-and-coming young guys. With guys like Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, and Julian Strother, it's hard not to like the future outlook of this roster. Even with all that young talent, it's hard not to like a scenario where they end up with Weber State's Dylan Jones. Jones was a hot name in last year's class as he did a great job during the pre-draft process, but ultimately chose to come back to school and work on his game and physique. The hard work has paid off, as Jones has had an unbelievable season for the Wildcats, is in great shape. Jones has a box plus minus of 8.3. His usage is up to 29.5%. And yet, even with the uptick in usage, his turnover percentage has come down this season to 14.4%. He's also averaging 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Clearly, Jones will have a much smaller role on a team like the Nuggets, but adding a highly productive player like Jones to that roster seems like a smart move. Jones may be a little ground-bound and lack explosiveness, but he makes up for it with great strength, hesitations, and craft all over the floor. The Utah Jazz are on the clock with the 29th pick, and they select Deron Holmes from Dayton. Now, Deron Holmes has been on an absolute tear for the Flyers lately, as he continues to put together one of the most dominant seasons in college basketball. Despite his remarkable success as a primary option, though, Holmes also has the skill set to be an exceptional complementary player, as he showed during his freshman season when he wasn't the hub of the offense. He has great passing vision for a big man, the mobility to play the 4, and the rim-protecting talent to more than make up for his relative lack of height at center. He's also added a key weapon to his arsenal this season, taking 2.5 threes per game, knocking them down at a nearly 39% clip, after taking just 26 triples in his first 2 seasons. He has a skill set to play as the 4 next to Walker Kessler, and he would also make a fascinating pairing as an oddball small ball 5 with Taylor Hendricks and Lauri Markkanen as the forwards. Given the huge developmental strides he's made while at Dayton, it's certainly not out of the question for him to end up being more than just a complimentary role player. However, he has a relatively safe floor on that front, and the Jazz could definitely make their lineup construction a lot easier by plugging in Holmes' jack-of-all-trades big man skill set. With the final pick in the 2024 NBA Draft's first round, the Boston Celtics are on the clock, selecting Zach Edey out of Purdue. Now, Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics have put together one of the most impressive rosters in terms of firepower. The question remains, what direction will the Celtics look to go in when it comes to building out their depth? The team is high on the future of 2023 second-round pick Jordan Walsh, and with numerous selections in the 24 draft, the team could look to find some value. The buzz connecting the Celtics with Purdue big man Zach Edey continues to open eyes. Edey is a monster of a human being at 7'4" and 300 pounds. The Purdue center has been the most dominant player in college basketball over the years. Edey has shown an improved physique this year and continues to intrigue with his ability to impact the inside game and soft touch around the hoop. NBA teams are going to find themselves willing to roll the dice on Edey being a positive impact in a rotation. And for a team like the Celtics, it could be an intriguing gamble if Edey could become a presence in their rotation. Thanks for tuning in to the first round of the 2024 NBA mock draft on the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel. If you want the full mock with picks 31 through 60, head to NoCeilingsNBA.com and check out the full NBA mock draft with write-ups for each team. Until then, thank you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.